Hello, everyone. My name is Matus. As was said, I'm a staff engineer here in Productboard. I lead the AI platform initiative, where we try to onboard most other teams in our AI capabilities. But today I'll be talking about something a little bit different, but maybe a little bit related. It's called building an AI-first engineering culture. It's mostly about how we approach the organizational deployment of tools like Cursor, and how we try to roll out its capabilities as efficiently as possible. So a quick agenda of what I'll be talking today. First up, I'll be trying to quickly cover the emergence of different coding tools, different levels of what this can do for you. Then why do we actually bother on the organization level? Why don't we just leave it to the individual contributors to figure out? And then I'm going to cover a few stages of adoption that we have defined here in Productboard, and then a few insights and trends that we already see emerging in the organization. So let's start with the emergence of coding tools. I don't know about you, but 2021, I had a few months of sabbatical. I got an invite to GPT-3. Things like this started popping up quite a lot, and for me, the pivotal moment was when I actually prompted my way to something like this that generated the first JavaScript component that was able to, when I clicked the button, it changed the color based on some rules of the timestamp, and that was for me like, okay, this is business logic. This is not just a visual layer, and for me, that was the realization. Okay. If we can hit a certain scale, like coding is probably going to change for good. And yeah, 2025, 4 years later, I think we hit that scale already. Coding is changing. And let's talk a little bit about the evolution that we took to get here. So we started with the OGs, static analysis. Your typical autocomplete solutions that were actually very helpful, especially for strictly typed languages that provided you some assistance in the scope of a single line, for example. Maybe something more, but nothing too complex. But it definitely provided quite a speed up. Then we moved to inline Copilot, which was actually the first killer product, something that was actually productionized, not just the cool demo. It was using the value promise of transformer models. It moved the scope from the single line to something more complicated, a method, a function, maybe a more simple class, which was amazing. Honestly, and then last year we got introduced to the next stage, which is agentic mode, where the scope explodes. Right? You can not just talk about the single method or function. You can take the changes throughout the whole code base. You can generate a repo from scratch. You can do all kinds of things, but the context increases. So. What does it mean in that evolution of time? Like in each step, the scope increases, as we said, like scope of what the tool can help you with, as well as the context that is needed to accomplish that task. You could argue that static analysis already had quite a larger context to begin with, but that's mostly code-based level context, not product or business context that you need to provide. And with each layer that increases, especially for the agentic mode. But what actually decreases is the feedback loop, because like right now, or not right now, but like in the static analysis and inline Copilot, you have you can relatively quickly get a feedback back on what you did wrong, and maybe you can adjust, course correct. With iterations in agentic modes, like it can easily take 20 seconds or a minute or maybe even longer. Your ability to try things out and learn from them decreases rapidly. And that ties a bit into why we bother at the organizational level. There is a very nuanced learning curve. I actually had the word steep there when my colleague Andre actually corrected me that that's actually not the case, because it's a natural language. Literally anybody can come in and try to prompt this thing to give you some output, and it will, but the level of quality will not be great. It's a very specific workflow that you need to figure out by yourself. It's not that you get the documentation and you're good to go. You need to feel the tool. I think the vibe coding term is very on point here, because it takes time to align yourself with the model to actually get the value that you're promised. It's also quite a big of a mindset shift for engineers to adopt this tool. Like, it's not just another tool in the toolbox. You need to change the way you think about approaching engineering on a day-to-day basis. And the third one is we see this as a general theme across organization. Like, everybody says it's amazing what this can do. Like, I see the value. Like, but I'm not sure that I'm actually getting the more work done at the end of the day. Like, I'm not sure I'm actually more productive. And this is what we want to solve at the end of the day at the org level, that we help engineers to get to the value faster. This is more of an anecdote, but Stanford, like, there is a research group on Stanford that is doing a study on AI's impact on engineering productivity. They have 100,000 engineers in the study, which is a humongous number. And they already say that there are some early results, because this is not published yet. But they said that, hey, we see that most teams are actually up on average on 20% increase in productivity, but there are teams that actually experience decrease in productivity, which is something that you want to be on the lookout for. So, stages of adoption. What we have in Productboard can be described as something of a 3 E's approach. First is experiment, then establish, and expand. I'll try to cover each of those individually. So, experiment. This stage is mostly about shaping the environment to encourage the experimentation from your individual contributors, right? They are the best source of curiosity that you get, and you could try to solve this centrally and have a team that tries to go through every tool that emerges on the market. But as you all know, like, there's a really lot of tools coming out each day, literally. And so having that curiosity of your whole organization to experiment is quite a big leverage to pull. So the best thing you can do is actually try to shape that environment to encourage experimentation. Like, you're going to be having some champions in the company that are naturally curious and trying things out. And if you cultivate enough channels for them to share that knowledge, that will provide you some initial data on what tools are actually the most valuable for your members. There are several key stakeholders in each stage, so we'll try to cover them. The first one in experiment is security. Security should be keeping tabs on the acceptable usage of what do you do in like in general in the company, but it's extremely important here that they are acting as an enabling partner. They are not trying to slap your fingers every time you try to experiment with some new vendor. We are extremely lucky to have a security team here in Productboard that does exactly that. They are watching us so that we don't do something that we shouldn't do to keep the commitments to our customers. But they are also trying to help us find ways to actually enable, like, use whatever we want and we think that will bring value. The second stakeholder experiment phase of stage is finance. Finance's role here is mainly about guidance, like defining guidance and budgets for experiments. They should minimize the friction that people experience when they're trying new tools. Here on Productboard, we have a very basic rule. You can have two tools at the same time. You can rotate them as you see fit, and this serves as a forcing function. So if you don't use that tool, you just cannot leave it hanging in the air, because if you want to use another tool, which is quite likely, you need to drop something, which gives you quite reliable data of usage across organizations, so you know what to focus on. The next stage, establish. This is mainly about forming the structure around high usage tools. You have the data from your champions, you have some data from finance, you generally know like what your engineers are experimenting with, and you can try to form some more rigid structure around those specific tools. You may switch to some team or org level plans and further minimize the friction to onboard more people. Again, key stakeholder is finance. They do some expense consolidation here, and as I said, providing the input where the demand is. And the very key stakeholder is DevX. Developer experience here in Productboard has a great and long history. They've been established and running for a long time, like years and years. And the main outcome of developer experience is usually efficiency. Like there are other aspects, but most of them usually boil down to efficiency, which is a perfect and natural match for AI coding tools. So they're hard at work establishing guidelines, trying to create the rules files for most of our repositories. They're exploring some internal MCPs or like shared workflows that we could be using in our specific Productboard context. They're also constantly in touch with our champions for different tools. They're trying to distill knowledge from them so they can bring it back and deploy to the rest of the organization. And also, like we have a quite extensive Notion page, or like Notion 3, I would say, where we, DevX, keep and maintain a lot of stuff around our AI tooling and their usage, how to expand, how to onboard. So if you have no clue how to start, like you go there and you'll find some things to do right from the start. And the last stage is expand. This is basically trying to find what works in the company and replicate it for other team members, further reducing the onboarding friction. So team members can really just like they do a pair programming session. By the way, this is a highly valuable or like highly valued practice in Productboard, not just for this kind of stuff, but like for general knowledge sharing. They can just see, okay, I saw my peer do this in the session, and they want to replicate that. Like they shouldn't be doing circles around the company to get that experience. They should be able to replicate it within minutes. And the last thing is we'll collect surveys and feedback quite a lot to ensure that we know of all the friction points that are happening across organization in onboarding these tools. So we get some data. And with that, I'll bridge to the last section, which is insights and trends that we see emerging in the company. So first up, we already see that it's a question of how, not if, which is, at least for me, it was quite mind-blowing to see this, because I feel I still can see some resistance somewhere in some parts of our little bubble. And in the survey that we did, like 97% of participants reported that they use AI daily, which is a quite a good result, I would say. But even more surprising number is that people are like almost 80% of people are open to switching IDEs for a better AI integration. Like for me, that's like really crazy. I spent like 13 years in JetBrains ecosystem. Like first thing that when I tried a new tool is that I look for a plugin support for IDEA, nothing else. I don't want to try anything else. But I also tried other stuff, but I thought that I was an exception. Like 80% are actually like open to switching their environments for a better AI integration. This is a huge indicator that people are really hungry to know how to integrate these things into their workflows, and we want to be as much of a support to do that. The next step is product maker mix. For product-oriented companies like Productboard, we have long valued the blurriness of the lines between product manager, product designer, product engineer. Like we want all of the people to speak the same language because they have the same outcome that they should be chasing. And we can see that the AI coding tools are quite accelerating this trend. You can see designers heavily spitting out prototypes on each session, highly functional prototypes. That in my career, I definitely didn't anticipate that the designer or like non-engineer person would be able to come up with a prototype like this. Like I think we have Patrick here, our designer. He told me the other day that he can burn $20 a day in Cursor. And it's not the only tool that he's using. He's using like 4 tools, all synced to GitHub for different workflows. And he's a designer. And like for every session that he comes up, like he has a fully functional prototype that doesn't even work on mock data. Like this is completely changing the conversation in product sessions. Like all these people are now speaking more closely. Product engineers, for example, they want to bring up some product prototypes. They don't have to spend that much effort to actually come up and show the product manager what is feasible, what they actually are able to bring to reality. Next up. When we ran the survey, we asked what is the major adoption blocker. And remember, these are people that are already using AI tools daily in their workflows. And by a landslide, the #1 blocker is still quality of output and error rate that is produced. And this is a great reinforcement of the efforts that we have, because error rate and quality of output is something that the right integration and proper context management or like the structure that you create around that tool usage is something that will bring those numbers down the most significantly of all the other things that you can see on the graph and the others that were not mentioned. So this is something that we actually can influence and is the most blocker for even more adoption. And lastly, almost half of our engineers that participated want even more structured training. Again, like these are people that are already actively using AI and they are hungry for more. Like they know that the workflows are so nuanced that they could be getting seriously more amount of value out of that tool, and they just want to know how. So that's about it. Thank you for attention. Any questions? Probably. All right. With which task do you believe AI saved the most of your and your product engineers' time? As I said, prototyping. The kickoff sessions. Right now we have kicked off a new initiative for a large chunk of a new functionality. those kind of sessions usually can take even weeks to align on a single direction. And one of the people on the meeting said, like, I have a FOMO that I don't have my own prototype. Like, everybody came in with something functional, and like it really sped up the process of aligning on which direction we want to take. So definitely prototyping all the way.
So I was thinking that we would leave the other two questions to Nick, if it's fine with the orders of the questions.
I know you've mentioned it, but I would like you to expand the area of increasing the quality of the output.
Yeah, so the context correlates quite a lot to a certain degree with or not context, the quality of output correlates quite a lot with context, mainly the product context that you give to the tool. So having for example, a cursor file, like a rule file, defined with all the nuance aspects of your specific code base to that specific repository, will usually yield better results. So by the way, like this is something that we strive for. Like a lot of the things are already implemented. Some of them are still in the works, and like having that perfect, quote unquote, perfect structure around those specific tools is still something that we iterate on. But like providing the right context about that specific code base, part of the code base, is at least right now probably the most opportunity gain we see. You mentioned that you use internal MCPs. Could you give some examples of these? Yeah, we're exploring what could be the right use cases. Right now, we have one that is checking the mergeability of your PR. Like if you are in a workflow in Cursor, you can quickly just ask the agent if this is mergeable, or the agent can be instructed to check the mergeability while performing other tasks. So it can be even automatic. So that's one that's already merged, but there are some other like. We have an internal documentation portal. There was an experiment to do some search capability and wrap that around MCP. So I don't know if you know Context 7, which is a MCP like quite popular for documentation of popular libraries. This was something similar that would try to grab different pieces of our own documentation in the context. How did this program came to be? Who advocated for it, and whom did you have to sell on it the hardest? Great question. I would say that. By the way, I'm actually not one responsible for this. I just try to distill the information. I think the experimentation phase emerged by its own. Like Productboard is naturally encouraging in experimentation. And when these tools and the champions emerged, they started pushing, hey, we are not getting the quality output, or like we have to do that by ourselves. Like all of us that were sharing the knowledge of how to do these things properly, said, hey, I needed to do exactly the same thing as you did. Like I need to wrap that context and somehow give it to the agent. Like how did I do that properly? And like it naturally evolved into okay, how we tackle this systematically. Plus, as I said, developer experience team is a natural fit for these. So they actually tackle this on their own, like part of their roadmap of how can they support these use cases better. Do you think that maybe having to talk to 3 departments to get to buy in to try a new AI tool is a bit inefficient? Could there be a faster way? You actually don't have to talk to almost anybody right now, because like it is set up that you have a free freedom of choice to choose your own tools and vendors. The only one is that if the tool is completely new, like it's a new vendor that hasn't been vetted by the security, like they need to be aware that something like that is going on. If you are the second one, you just create a virtual card and you're good to go. So you don't actually have to talk to 3 different departments. It's just that there is some process that need to evolve these stakeholders at the start. Okay, thank you. That's all.